what is this? It's a reflector. It reflects light. It is very big, and you can also fold it down. It's actually quite complicated because you have to make 3 smaller circles, one in the middle, one at the end, and one at the bottom in order to get this right. This is actually something you have to figure out. Now, what does it do? It reflects light, as I said. You have basically the option to reflect light in a golden light, as you can see on my face now. You also have the option to reflect light just reflecting in a white manner, and there also is an additional option. If you open it up, what you can actually do is you can take a look inside, and there is a silver option inside. Also, there is a dark option inside. So basically you can take the whole thing and turn it around, and then you have the silver and the dark side. Why would the dark side make sense? It's basically to add shadows to a face. If I add something that is dark, it takes away light because from this source it doesn't reflect the light anymore. And what this means is that this is just a very handy tool for photography. What are potential use cases? So I did a few portrait shootings with people, and the main problem now with something like this is that you actually need either something to hold this or someone to hold this. And if you don't have something or someone, and the something that could be a potential stand, for example, but you actually need very big clamps. So this is also quite something you have to take with you. And if you are on location, you already have to take a lot with you. You basically take maybe a tripod, maybe also a flashlight, maybe also your camera, which also would be very nice if you take your camera with you. And then it just adds up. And then if you additionally have to carry a stand for something like this, it is quite something. Additionally now, it adds complexity to shooting portrait. Why? Because in addition to you positioning yourself and you positioning the model, what you additionally have to do is position the light. So basically, if you want to have to constrain, so basically what I'm trying to say is you can use not having a reflector as a constraint in order to boost creativity, because you just cannot do that much, therefore you have to be more creative. But if you just want to have a reflector, and if you want to use the benefits of a reflector, what you can do is either get somebody else to hold the reflector for you, which is probably the best option. Second of all, get the model to hold the reflector. Let's say you want to do a portrait, and you take your camera, and then this is, I'm the model right now, and then this is the camera. And what you could potentially do for the model, if you don't see the model holding the reflector, you can just shoot a picture of their face. I didn't want to say shoot the face because that sounds weird. Now, of course, you use the same word for photography and also for this other thing called guns, but that's not what I'm talking about. So now, how would you use this actually? There is the third option of you taking the thing. And then what you can do is you stand with your camera here, and then you're trying to position it and maybe hold it with one leg. That's actually what I did. And it is a very balancing act, and you still need to get it right. Also be aware that a reflector only has a certain range, because light diffuses actually, and then it goes into all directions. Of course, sometimes it only goes into one direction, depending on your kind of music taste, but usually it reflects into many directions. Of course, it only basically reflects from this here in this direction, but let's now say the light comes from here, then the angle that actually hits the surface is the same angle on the other side that actually it gets away. So now, if this is the sun, so I have a softbox up here and this is the sun, what you can do is you can either add a golden shimmer to one side of the face. You can also lighten up one side of the face. The golden shimmer, of course, also is a color. If you don't want to use the color, you just use the white side. But because the other one is more reflective, it actually reflects more light. And the white one diffuses the light also a little bit. It doesn't reflect so much. So now my face is lit on both sides pretty even. If I remove it again, I have a shadow on the one side. If you now had something that is dark, let's take this for example, and you want to add a shadow, despite the light from above being the light source, you could potentially, there is no real effect now, but you could potentially, if I move it very closely, it becomes more and more apparent, but you cannot really see it. So it actually removes light from one side basically. So these are the several things you can do in order to up the quality of your portrait. An additional trick is to use it below, because many people actually have shadows under their eyes if the light source from above is the sunlight. So if you don't shoot in the morning hour or the evening hour, so the blue hour or the golden hour in the evening, then what you can potentially do is, despite the harsh sunlight, you can, and I also have it set up very harshly right now, you can just add a reflector, and this removes some of the shadows because the main light is coming from here, and then the additional light, but a softer light, less powerful light, comes from below and actually removes some of the shadows. If you then are done with the whole thing, you can just take the whole thing, and then you have to realize that it is still quite difficult to fold it down again. You then take it, and if you still have the cover, you then move it into the cover, and then potentially into your backpack. But keep in mind this is quite a diameter, and therefore it might not go directly into your backpack, but you might actually have to find a way to attach it. This is actually a strap where you can attach it to something, and mine is made by Delamax. I found it on Amazon, and I had it for years at this point in time, even though I didn't use it that much because I only shot portraits for some amount of time, until I realized that editing process is just insane. So it basically means that you shoot for 2 hours and then you edit for probably 10 to 15 hours if you only edit a few pictures. And well, this is the reason I don't really shoot that much portrait anymore, but I still have this because why would I get rid of it?